Yo, what's up, my fan base? It's your boy Blaze Hollow coming at you with another special What If from the tag series between me and Kirisho. And I gotta say thank you to Kirisho for giving me GodSpeed. He is definitely one of my favorite characters from DC. But I also want this to be a tribute to Comic Storian who has passed away. He was a good man and did a lot of good work for everybody in the community. So thank you, Comic Storian, aka Benny. May your soul rest in peace wherever it ends up. And for you, Kirisho, this time in the game, I thought long and hard, and I wanted to go back to your roots, and I found a special series that not only myself, but a lot of your fan base has been begging you to redo. So I tag you to do What If Deku Was a Nomu redo. Have fun with that, buddy. But with all that said, let's roll that intro and get into it.
Maybe in a million miles on a highway through the skies. Someday soon we'll be together.
No, I honestly don't think you can become a hero.
We start our story with the city on fire, buildings crumbling, cars flipped over, and the desperate cries of citizens hoping for one man to show up. Please help us, Godspeed! As if on cue, the man of the hour rushed in and grabbed the citizens, bringing them to safety. His costume torn, half of his mask was broken, revealing his green hair, and his eyes were a little bit swollen. After getting the last citizen to the safety area, he proceeded to rush back into the chaos. It doesn't have to be this way. Oh, but it does. You're not fast enough to stop me. Both individuals seemed to be looking up towards the sky as it seemed to be a complete storm, lightning, sparking clouds, and looking like a bad omen. It felt like a force from above was actually breaking but trying to contain itself. The speed force won't last much longer. The only way that you'll be able to fix it is if you put me down, but you're going to have a hard time destroying a living paradox. Nothing is impossible. I'm going to catch up to you and fix the speed force. Now, I know what you're all thinking. What's going on? Why are we in the middle of a fight? What's happening with the speed force? Well, in order to get all those answers, dear listener, we're going to have to go back to the very beginning. It was just a normal day for Izuku, who was staring out the window in the middle of class, seeing that it might rain a little bit later from what he was seeing of the weather, but that's when he heard the sound of clapping hands. Alright students, focus. I know that it's the last day of school and I was supposed to give you this aptitude test, but he then proceeds to toss the papers into the air. Why bother? I know all of you want to go into the hero course. All the students got excited as they started using their quirks. The teacher tried to calm everybody down, but the sound of somebody jumping onto their desk letting off small explosions got everybody's attention, revealing an ashy-haired blonde with a massive grin on his face. Hey Teach, don't lump me in with these losers. They be lucky to work for some D-lister out in the boonies. The teacher looked at his laptop that was on the corner of the desk as he started to type away at it. Oh yes, Bakugo. It seems that you have a very high test result, and it seems that you also put in an application for UA. You got that right, Teach. I'm going to be the first student from this school to go to UA, and then I'm going to become the future #1 hero. The teacher was about to give a compliment to Bakugo, only for him to notice that there was another person that put in an application for UA. Oh, it looks like Izuku also put in an application for UA. His testing scores were just as good as yours, Bakugo. It looks like the both of you might have a chance of getting in together. Everybody in the room were silent for a second, only for it to change into laughter as no one could believe a quirkless loser could go to such a famous school. But the one who was the most upset was Bakugo as he went over to Izuku getting ready to threaten him, only for the bell to ring. Izuku took the opportunity as everyone was a little bit confused to push Bakugo out of the way as he started to run. Of course, the teacher has to make it difficult for me on the last day. Deku, get back here! Izuku freaked out seeing Bakugo chasing after him, so he started to run a little bit faster, but the moment he was about to go out the exit of the school building, he tripped. This is just not my day. Bakugo grabbed Izuku by the back of his shirt, holding him up, kind of choking him a little bit. Listen here, nerd, I don't want to see you anywhere near UA, so take back that application. Somebody like you would just ruin the reputation of UA. Izuku was choking for a few seconds until he was able to properly plant his feet, looking at Bakugo concerned. That's not true. There's a new policy that allows quirkless people to try out for the school, especially for the hero course. Bakugo shoved Izuku to the ground. I don't care. I don't want to see you anywhere near UA, and if I do, I'm going to beat you within an inch of your life. He then kicks Izuku in the side violently. Consider that a warning. Izuku lays there in pain, waiting for Bakugo and his goons to leave. After about 4 minutes, he finally gets up. Looking around, he noticed that there was a teacher watching but didn't do anything. Shaking his head, he got up and left the school, deciding to take a longer route home as he was going under an underpass. But that's when he started to hear the sounds of a manhole cover shaking as ooze was coming out of it like somebody was trying to escape. Sorry, kid, nothing personal. I just didn't know that he was in town. The villain quickly wrapped Izuku in sludge, trying to suffocate him. Now be a good boy and die quickly. Izuku freaked out, thinking that his life was about to end, only for him to scream out in his mind it wasn't fair. He wanted to make a difference in this world. If only he had power, if only he had the ability to do something to better the world, maybe he wouldn't be in this situation. Let me go! At that moment, the whole world felt silent, but the quick bolt of lightning as the sound of a crack-a-cocoom could be heard as lightning hit Izuku square in the chest, energizing him and jolting the villain away, blattering him all across the underpass. Izuku felt weird. He felt strange power, but he didn't understand what it was. He looked up at the sky, seeing that it was cloudy. A little bit of lightning was showing for a second, but it seemed to be fading, like it was only meant to be there for a second and then gone. The sound of somebody showing up from the sewer snapped him out of his trance as he was still looking at the sky, but he could hear a joyful laughter coming from below. Have no fear, because I am here. The number one hero looked around at the scene, confused, seeing the villain splattered, a teen boy seeming to be standing there in a trance. The whole scene made him confused and feel a little bit awkward. Excuse me, young man, but did you do this? Izuku looked around the underpass, confused himself. I don't know. 1 second I was drowning by that guy, and then the next thing I know, a bolt of lightning hits us and splatters him, and I was just left here standing confused. All Might was scratching his chin, confused about what he was just told. Young man, do you know what your quirk can do? Sorry to tell you this, All Might, but I'm quirkless, but I do have a question for you. I'm a really big fan, and I would appreciate if you could answer my question. Sorry, but your question might have to wait, young man. You might have just activated your quirk, and if it can do something like this without you even realizing it, we might need to get you some kind of medical professional before you do anything that could hurt somebody. Izuku had hope, thinking that this was a blessing, that he could actually have just awakened his ability. He didn't appreciate that he nearly had to die for it, but this was his chance to be better than what he was. But can I please ask you that question? Like I said, I don't have time. You should get a hold of your parents and go straight to a medical vicinity as soon as possible. Before anything else could be said between the two, All Might leaped up into the sky. Izuku was watching this as he still wanted to ask that question, and before he could even realize that he was running. As he didn't realize how quickly he was moving, he was just so focused on All Might, and when he came down for a landing a few blocks down, he started to buff down into his small form, only to be surprised by a crack of lightning and seeing the young green-haired boy standing right in front of him. I truly do appreciate you coming back, All Might. I know that you're very busy. He looked up and saw Small Might, which caused him to take a step back in shock. Wait, you're not All Might? All Might had his eyes the size of dinner plates, knowing that he just leaped at least 5 blocks down the street, and this kid was able to run after him like it was nothing. Kid, you do realize I didn't come back to talk to you. You followed me. How did you keep up with me? I leaped as far as possible, yet you showed up right at the same time I was landing. Izuku looked around and realized that his surroundings were not the same. He actually realized that he was a lot closer to his house, which usually would take him about 15 minutes from where he was originally, but now he was able to get here within seconds. I don't know. Do I have super speed? Before anything else could be said between the both of them, Izuku started to fall backwards, seeming to lose consciousness as All Might caught him before he hit his head on the concrete, not understanding what just happened. He quickly rushed the boy to the hospital. A couple of hours have passed. Izuku wakes up feeling groggy, hooked up to an IV and the beeping of a monitor that was beside him. His vision started to come back to him. He noticed a man with red hair wearing a black and red suit with a scar wrapped around his neck, sitting there reading a medical book when he finally looked up and noticed that the boy was awake. You woke up sooner than I expected. That's good. It shows that you have a lot of potential. Where am I, and who are you? The name is Blaze, and you're in the hospital after overusing your ability. And before you ask, no, I am not your doctor. I'm here to chat with you about your situation. My situation? I don't even know what's fully going on. You're saying that I have an ability, and yet you're not my doctor, but you're dressed like one, and you're reading a medical book. Blaze looked at the book as he just tossed it up in the air, and just as it was about to come down, it vanished like it was never even there. True, but I didn't know how long I was going to have to wait, so I thought that I would expand some of my knowledge on a subject I'm not really used to. Can you at least explain to me why I'm in the hospital? Oh, definitely. When you activated your Speed Force abilities, you overclocked your body past your calorie count, and when you no longer had enough nutrients in your body to withstand consciousness, let alone be alive, your body shut down on you. I was technically the one keeping you stable, because if it wasn't for me, you would have been way past dead before that big idiot even got you here, but everything worked out in the end, didn't it? Izuku's head started to throb in pain, trying to process everything. Can you please slow down, sir? You're talking in circles to me, and I barely understand half of the things that you're saying. Blaze leaned his head back on the chair that he was sitting in, almost annoyed as he looked up at the ceiling for a few seconds. Sorry there. I'm truly sorry. I'm sometimes difficult to speak with people that don't already know what I'm talking about, but I'll start to slow down. He then sits up straight, keeping perfect eye contact with Izuku. I have granted you the power of the Speed Force. You are its first and perfect generator. I cannot go into full-on details on what it is because you wouldn't really learn if I did do that. Izuku was confused, but then remembered the lightning bolt that hit him. Wait, so you're telling me that the bolt that hit me was you? Not necessarily. I spoke with the Speed Force and it owed me a favor. You just happened to be very well in tuned with it. You'll be able to do many amazing things, but I need to ask you something in exchange for me giving you such great power. Izuku was concerned and wasn't sure if this man was even telling the truth, but he did feel different, so he decided to hear him out. What is this favor or request that you might have for me? I'm going to call upon you one day in the future to help me with something that only a real hero could do. I'm not asking you to go against your morals or anything that you stand for. When I call upon you, I will just need your help. Can I rely on you? Izuku didn't know why, but he felt like he could trust this man. man. Yes, if you're truly giving me power, I don't see why I can't help you, if all I'm going to do is something heroic. Thank you, Izuku, and I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to remember any of this conversation, but it's a way to keep both of us from truly interfering too deeply with all of you, so good luck. Blaze snapped his fingers as everything went white for a few seconds. Izuku was sitting up in his medical bed as the door was opening to his room, revealing his mother, who was in tears, running to him and squeezing him tight in a hug. Oh, my poor baby, I was so worried about you when I got a phone call from the hospital. I was fearing the worst. The doctor was walking in shortly behind Inko, looking over a chart. I do have to say you're very lucky. Apparently your super speed quirk drains a lot of calories when being used. You really should make sure to keep track of your calorie count if you're going to be running at such fast speeds. Inko let go of her son slowly, but then turned to the doctor confused. My son doesn't have a quirk, or are you implying that something has awakened? The doctor scratched the back of his head, actually looking over the chart more thoroughly, realizing that this might be a late bloomer situation. Oh, we might need to run some more tests. Your son has definitely awakened his quirk, but we might not have the proper medical equipment or testing facility to properly judge it here. Do you maybe know a place where we can actually get proper readings from, doctor? I would like to make sure that nothing like this happens to my son again. Unfortunately, madame, unless your family is actually wealthy, I would say you would have to go through a slow and tedious process to get proper estimates. Inko hung her head down low, realizing that their low-income family might go through some severe struggles with this, but God himself had blessed them upon this day. Joyful laughter could be heard as All Might came into the room wearing his hero costume with a bright smile that could light up a room. Well, it's a good thing I know somebody, and I just got off the phone with them myself. Izuku was shocked to see his idol coming to visit him in the hospital. All Might, you came to visit me? Inko looked at her son and then at the symbol of peace, going back and forth a few times. Wait, you two know each other? Indeed, Miss Midoriya. Your son helped me take down a villain that I was pursuing. Doing so caused him to go into a complete body shutdown, and I blame myself for this happening, so I rushed him to the hospital only for the doctors to explain to me the situation. So I thought as a favor of goodwill I would call up my good buddy David Shield and invite both of you for some proper testing and medical care. Inko was in shock, not expecting anything like this as she was holding both of her hands right in front of her heart. Is this for real? Are you really going to help us? Of course, your son has definitely got my attention, and after what he's done, I feel like he needs to be compensated. I feel by tomorrow we should be able to get the first flight to Island. Inko bowed her head in gratefulness as tears were going down her face. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to me. No problem. If you don't mind though, I would like a personal word with your son in private. Oh, of course. I understand. Both of them waited to see Inko leave along with the doctor, and once the door was shut, All Might looked at Izuku with a friendly/serious face. I'm glad to see that you're doing alright, young man, but there's something that you need to know that I was able to get out of the doctor while we were waiting for your mother to arrive. What is it? Is it something important? It's hard to say, but when they were trying to do a scan on you, your body seemed to be emitting a lot of energy. Even for a small amount, the level was so high that it broke one of the scales, breaking the machine that you were in. Because of that, I need to get involved. Izuku was looking at himself, not fully sure what he was capable of. I don't understand it either. All I know is that I was being suffocated by that villain, and then then the lightning bolt hit me, and after that, everything was kind of a blur. All Might raised an eyebrow on how that all was described to him. Lightning bolt? That shouldn't be right. There wasn't even a cloud in the sky when I came out of the sewer. He quickly brushed it off, leaving it for later. Either way, young man, your power is very unstable at the moment, and it seems to be doing something to your body that these people do not understand. So I need you to trust me and Professor Shield. By the time we're done testing, we will have proper understanding of your abilities, and you might be on the right path to becoming a true hero. A couple of weeks have actually passed since that meeting in the hospital. As Izuku was running on a treadmill going over 130 miles, as Professor Shield was watching this, it seemed unbelievable, but to Izuku it felt like a light jog. Hey, Professor Shield, are you almost done with this test? Unless we're gonna actually go any faster, this feels like we're just doing the same thing every day. David was going over the data that he was getting from the room, seeing the electrical current along with watching over Izuku's calorie count. Yes, that should be fine for now. Make sure to grab something out of the vending machine once you're done. Izuku came out of the testing chamber, running over to the vending machine and pressing the buttons actually a few times in rapid recession. Professor Shield, I really don't know what to say sometimes when I see myself do these things, or going through some of these tests that you have me do. It's unbelievable that I actually have super speed. Izuku, how many times do I gotta tell you, just call me David. As for the comment about your speed, calling it super is underrated. The amount of speed that you can actually generate is almost unrealistic. And what's got me stumped is every time I have you do these tests, I still can't see any quirk gene activation. According to your blood test, your bio readings, and even having you run on that treadmill, we still get nothing. Your speed is inhuman. I would almost say that it's like a different force of nature to begin with. I just can't tell. While the both of them were working away at this situation, a blonde-haired girl came into the laboratory. Alright, Dad, it's time for your lunch break. You can't just let Izuku over here eat all the food. You have to make sure to take care of yourself. She then looked over at Izuku. And as for you, you promised me that you would show off your skills to everybody at the hero course today. So come on and put on the tracksuit that was given to you and let's go. Izuku nodded as he zoomed off to change, leaving David and Melissa alone in the lab. Melissa walked over to her father, looking over some of the data that she could partially understand, while some of it she didn't. So, have you gotten any breakthroughs yet? Because I don't think you're going to get any if you just keep on doing these isolated tests. I know. That's why I'm allowing the both of you to do this today. Just try not to go overboard. No promises. A few minutes later, Melissa alongside Izuku were at the exit tunnel where Izuku was getting nervous about having his first combat test with his abilities. Are we sure about this? I'm just fast. I haven't really fought anything before. Don't worry about it. Just go out there and do your best. Some people succeed and some people fail. There's a reason why it's called a testing site. Right. Then wish me luck. Once Izuku stepped out into the public, he saw that he was at the base of a mountain area. As people were watching from above, excited about the newcomer, the announcer was letting the crowd know about their newest contestant, along with explaining the obstacle course and the many different robots on it. Izuku didn't care about any of that. As he was slipping his goggles onto his eyes, he got into a runner's stance, and when he heard the starting gun go off, he ran, going at speeds that most people couldn't keep up with, taking out some of the lower level robots with ease. Izuku realized that he was actually able to take out the robots a lot easier than he thought with his speed. Either he smashed into them with the wind pressure that he creates off of his draft, or he would use his own personal speed to punch right through the robots. Izuku stopped for a minute, but he started to perceive things at super speed as everything looks like it was moving in slow-mo. Okay, this terrain is definitely different from what I'm used to, but I have at at least 4 more robots to take out, but there's only a minute left, and with them spread out the way that they are, I don't know if I can get to them all in time. I think it's time for me to go faster than what Professor Shield recommended. He started to speed up, heading towards one of the robots, but that's when he was conflicted for a moment. He didn't know which one to start with. He started to look back and forth, back and forth. He was just running before he could even realize that another version of himself started running towards the robots on the left, and he ran towards the ones on the right, taking out both sets of robots within a few seconds. The crowd was in shock, not only because of the speed, but now because there seemed to be 2 of the same person right in front of one another. It almost looked like the individual himself was looking in a mirror. I didn't even know I could do this. But that's where I'm going to leave it off this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little trailer, and I hope that you've been enjoying the tag series between me and Kirisho. But with all that said, I'm out. Peace.